Goose Breeze. I don't know. I don't know. Hold on. I'm tweeting. Let me tweet and then I'll start talking. Let everybody kind of get in here. I don't mind the Breeze boost, but it kind of just depends on ownership, really. Where's my? There we go. I like how the mouse tracks what I'm doing on different windows on this screen. There. Like, okay. We'll give everybody a couple more minutes to filter on in here. I'm gonna do MLB projections after this stream. It should only be like half an hour. It's not gonna be very long. There we go. What did I just do? I think I broke restream. Okay. Shadow overlay. Man, I really broke restream. Not good. Not good at all. All right. How do I get this chat overlay to work? Do you know? You'd think this would be a little easier to do, but OBS doesn't have it anymore. Oh well. Okay. So I'm just gonna kind of talk about this game. Niners Jets. Should be a good one. I got my Jerry Rice jersey on. I'm a big Niners fan. So I'm looking forward to this one. It's nice to have the whole gang back together, including Brandon Ayuk, who is playing today, but is supposedly going to be a little limited in terms of snaps. I don't really worry too much about the snap thing. I mean, he's going to be in on the important place. He's going to be in the red zone. Yeah, so I'm not too worried about that for him. I think the total still is around. Yeah, StreamYard would be the way to go, Chan. I think you're right. So this game's still, I think, at a 43 total on DraftKings right now. I actually don't know where it is around the industry. So it's a little higher than some of the games we saw yesterday, but I mean, some of those games, passing was so bad yesterday. I was really not surprised because nobody plays in preseason anymore. But man, there was some rough offense to watch like yesterday. I mean, there's a lot. The thing about this game is there's a huge range of outcomes for how this could go. We haven't seen Aaron Rodgers play in 2 years. We haven't seen the Jets offense with him. We did for one play. So we don't really know what they're going to do or what they're going to look like. And so this is where kind of sim tools can really come in handy when you are like, there's just a wide range of outcomes for what can happen. I mean, I could just as easily see the Niners win, 31-3 and sack Rodgers 6 times than I could that the Jets score 30 points here, 40 points here. And Rodgers has a huge game. So we need to be cognizant when we're building these lineups of the range of outcomes. And it looks like we're getting some books now. Like FanDuel is the 43.5 with juice on the over. So maybe it'll even go up to 44 before kickoff, which would make the defenses seem like an even less enticing play. But let's go ahead and look. So our projections are up. I'm gonna do one more run after we get inactives. I don't think there's any big news. I mean, I guess if McCaffrey was somehow ruled out, that would be big news. But some of these end of the bench guys are kind of the ones that you end up chopping them down. I think yesterday Tyler Johnson for the Rams, nobody, including me, projected him to get anything yesterday, and he ended up with a huge catch. I don't think he was in the optimal, but he's into the roster, guys. It's worth kind of paying attention to the inactives and making sure that whoever you're going to play is actually going to play. So just looking at ownership, McCaffrey, unsurprisingly, the highest flex projected player. Purdy and Rodgers both getting plenty of flex ownership. Not surprising. Very little captain ownership for the two quarterbacks. Also not surprising. Then we have Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Chan already said in the chat he wants me to boost Breece Hall. I don't know. I mean, the Niners were weak against the run last year. It was kind of their Achilles heel. And so there's definitely a case to be made for Breece Hall. For me, I mean, the Jets are kind of a fun, not an easy team, but they are kind of a nice team to stack because you know who's getting all the production, right? It's going to be these two guys, skill position players, and then maybe a little bit of Conklin mixed in. But you kind of know where all the targets and where all the rushing carries are going, so they're easy to stack up together if you wanted to do like an onslaught with them. On the Niners side, I mean, we got McCaffrey on a pitch count. I think Ian Rappaport said 15 to 20 touches. I don't know how much I believe that. If it's a tight game, is Shanahan really going to take him out and play Jordan Mason? I mean, he did show willingness with Elijah Mitchell in the Super Bowl when it was close, so maybe he would, but I don't know. I'm not too worried about the pitch count thing with McCaffrey. He's so dynamic and so good that he can make 20 touches, be 30 points easily. Yeah, Breece Hall is a good receiver. As you would know, as he's a clone legend. Iowa State great, Breece Hall. Yeah, he can catch and run with the ball. So if Rodgers is under pressure at all with Bosa, you know, he can pick up a lot of easy yardage. Going back to the Niners, so you got Ayuk back after signing that contract. He hasn't practiced all offseason. Actually, I think he practiced last week. yeah, clone legends, Breece, Purdy, and Lazard all on the same slate. Breece and Purdy played together, right? I'm pretty sure they were on that Iowa State team that went like 11-1 or something. And Lazard had to have been before them. Rushing prop, Nick, on McCaffrey, yeah. I'm not. Like I said, if it's a really close game, is Shanahan really going to panic if he gives McCaffrey 22 touches or 23 touches instead of 15 or 20? I don't know. But that is kind of what I'm saying about this range of outcomes on this slate. For the Niners receivers, you got Debo, most owned, most captained, and I kind of disagree. I mean, I get that he's the one star receiver that the Niners have that has been actually practiced. But last year, and actually historically, he's not the guy that the Niners go for against man coverage. The Jets last year, same personnel basically, same defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, still Robert Saleh. They were top 5 in man coverage usage last year, and they're also like the best against receivers in man coverage. So they were elite, but in that kind of situation, Ayuk is usually the receiver that gets all the targets. I think last year he had like a 30+% target rating as man coverage, something ridiculous. And so he is Ayuk is the receiver that I really like here, especially at this ownership. I mean, I know how much risk there is here, but for me, he's clearly the Niners receiver I would want. And I love Debo. Debo's my favorite Niner, one of my favorites of all time. But yeah, Ayuk. I really like Ayuk getting only 25% flex ownership. That seems way too low. He's got so much upside too, as we have seen. Kittle obviously can go off. He loves these primetime Island games. He seems like he always has a huge game in these spots. And for the kind of the backup Niners, Juwan Jennings makes sense as well as kind of a man-to-man specialist. He's been clutch for them in the slot over the years. And the super cheap, I mean, you got Juice Check. You really want to get weird. Shanahan always likes to team up a couple touches for him. But the super cheap play that I like on the Niners, the punt, my favorite punt of the day, is Jacob Cowing from he was at UTEP or UTSA. I don't remember, but he had huge numbers there. Transferred to Arizona last year, and then with Noah Fafita and Tatoria Millen, who's going to be the number 1 receiver this year by a mile. He had a huge year last year as well. He's the one receiver in preseason for the Niners that kind of popped off, and he's like flashed upside the Niners really haven't had. It's their backups as a receiver for a few years now. So he's the one. I think I haven't projected more than any of these other punt plays now. Yeah, up to like 0.82. I mean, it's still pretty insignificant, but I think if there's any one of these punts I want on the Niners side at least, he's the one. Especially with Ayuk might be on a snap count as well. It just wouldn't surprise me to see Shanahan scheme up some stuff for Cowing because he flashed a lot of explosiveness that the Niners haven't really had aside from Debo and I guess McCaffrey. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts overall in the game. I bet Niners first half. I think I like that side. I like the idea of Shanahan with 6 months to prepare against a team that hasn't played an offense that hasn't played together in the Jets in 2 years. I mean that makes sense to me, just getting it early. But I could really see this game going anyway here. I mean I could see the Jets, like I said, this being a shootout. I could see the Jets winning and everybody thinking they're the Super Bowl favorites. There's just a lot of range of outcomes. So let's go ahead and what I'm doing here is I'm gonna boost up Ayuk, right? So we have on our site now, we have our projections loaded, and he was at 11.84, I believe. We have everything in here, and what we have here are our projection, which is like this is what we use in our actual player fantasy point outcomes. And then we have field points. So the difference is field points is what you use to generate lineups for the contest, and projections was actually used to generate the player fantasy point simulations. So if I like a player relative to the field, so like out here, so we are projecting Ayuk for 11.84 points. Maybe he's even higher than that out or lower than that out there, and I mean it's some of the other big sites. So what you can do is you just bump him up, so I can make him. We'll just give him 3 fantasy points. I'm not, and this is not scientific at all. I'm just boosting him, so he'll show up more. And then so let's go ahead and we're gonna boost Brees Hall as well. So we'll give him 2 fantasy points. And again, not scientific. I mean, we could boost this. Really, what I would do is I would run one without boosting anybody, and then I would run another with the boost and kind of see the exposure differences. But for now, I'm just gonna kind of give my thoughts. And then Cowing, all I'm gonna do on Cowing is I'm gonna make his standard deviation higher. So his median projection is still gonna stay low, but we're gonna up his variance a little bit. We'll give him 3. He's probably gonna pop a lot now, but that's okay. So then, what I usually like to run here is 7 generations. For DraftKings, it probably won't complete, and I like to keep it around 5 to 10% holdover percentage between generations. We'll go 7%, and then I usually do for Showdown. I've been running like this. I can zoom in if it's kind of hard to see, but I usually do 80% weight on ROI, 5% weight on lineup ownership, 5% weight on top 1% finishes, and 10% weight on win percentage. Because in Showdown, if you ain't first, you're last. So we really want to focus on making sure we have high ROI lineups, but also lineups that have a good chance to win. So we need to find a good balance there in these lineups. Min lineup 47,000. That's usually what I run. There's some times where, especially in some of these lower totals, today isn't a good example. But today, because of everybody on a pitch count, it is possible that we could see like a 45,000 lineup winner. But I'm just gonna leave it 47,000 for now, and let's just go ahead. Now let's just go ahead and run it. So we have all these. I don't think people have really tried this. I haven't seen too much, but we have custom correlations in here. So the correlations get applied at the fantasy point outcome level when we are actually generating all these simulations. We have our own correlation metrics that we have of kind of for this game. Here's our expected, the wide receiver 1 versus wide receiver 2, or the quarterback to wide receiver is like a 0.3 correlation or whatever. But we can actually edit those. So let's say, for example, we would not want Debo and Ayuk in a lineup together. We would just add a correlation, find Debo, find Ayuk, and then just changes to be like some big negative number, like negative 0.5. You just want to be careful when you're doing this, that these correlation matrices, when we're applying them to the fantasy point outcomes, there is a lot of sensitivity there, and so if you change the values too much, you can get some pretty wonky sim results. But yeah, that is something else that you can try, is just messing around with the correlations. And we also have them saved for you as well. So like, let's say you had your own custom position matrix let's say you had let's say, so for Purdy today, this is our quarterback correlation matrix that we're applying for him here. And let's say for Purdy, you want to just, he's not going to run very much, right? So we're going to want to pair him more with our receivers and tight ends. So we might want to boost this up a little bit. Where for Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen, both of who ran a lot yesterday, we might want to lower these a little bit. Because as we saw with the winning $5 Mini Maker lineup, you can get there with Josh Allen and nobody else from the Bills. You can just run him naked. But let's go ahead and just run with my settings here. This is going to take a little bit to run. Yeah, just missing Hutchinson. Xavier Hutchinson, another clone legend. While this is running, so we have a new tool that we're testing out. Let me make sure this is actually being shared. Okay. So we have a new tool that we're testing out. It's called Get Lineups. It's super simple. All we do is getlineups.com. And we have this nice little, so like ideally you would do this on your phone. I can actually share what it looks like on your phone. Go ahead and iPhone 14 Pro. So it's just a simple little app for you. Like the ideal is so many times, you know, I'd be watching like the NBA playoffs at a bar or something, and I just want to sweat a game, right? And I don't want to think too. I don't want to sit here and come up with a bunch of Showdown lineups and have all these rules and stuff like I would do for these sims or for the optimizer. And so the basic idea is I just want to get lineups, right? I want to play a lineup that I know Rice I think is going to be plus EV, has a good chance to win, and it's just better than building some SGP, some same parlay that's like crazy. When I can just I would rather I just have like I just want to watch this game, and I like I said, I like Ayuk, so we'll just go ahead and Ayuk. Now we just have this player boost thing here. So now all we're doing is just boosting Ayuk. Let's go ahead and limit Debo. Right. And who else are we boosting? We're boosting Brees Hall because Chan wanted me to. So this is all we're doing, right? We're just setting who do we like in this game. Oops. We're just saying who do we like in this game. That's it. Like I don't really have like a strong opinion here, like I said. I just want to get a couple lineups that would be fun. And then we just click continue. Then this kind of asks me, you know, like, what's my strategy here? Do I want to try to win it all? Do I just want to I want to cash and maybe have a chance to win, or do I just want to really focus on cashing? And so like in this case, we'll swing for the fences. It's more fun. So here we go. We got our lineup up here. We're going to get my lineup. And then we're hitting our AI. We have a nice little AI assistant that's going to help us understand these lineups. And then once we get the summary, now here's our lineup. So this McCaffrey captain, Brees Hall, Aaron Rodgers. Looks interesting. Here's the Brees Hall to Aaron Rodgers dump-offs thing. So then promo code, try it. Just like that. We should get free lineups if this promo code still works. Let's hope so. There we go. So we get some free lineups. So promo code, try it. And then here we go. Here's this lineup, right? And it's McCaffrey. This is a real sicko lineup already. You have 3 pass catchers for the Jets with Rodgers. And then you have McCaffrey solo with Moody. And this is this is a high-risk lineup. This is the absolute definition of a high-risk lineup. Right? I mean, we're leaving 2,600 on the board. But in our sims, it has a high ROI. And it's just because this roster construction and salary is going to be, you're not competing with anybody. Only a 0.03% chance to win. But, there you go. Yeah, solo Millie exactly, right? And we're barely giving it a chance to cash. 12% chance. Yeah. So, high risk. I did ask for high risk here. Let's take a look at another one. Conklin captain, again, high risk. Here's another one with Kittle. Now we're getting into the weeds here. Now this one's crazy. So maybe high risk isn't the play for me. But anyway, so this is just like a nice way to get some lineups that you could play that we think are higher ROI. And in my opinion, based on these, I would not choose high risk today. I would be going with medium risk for sure. But here's a fun Purdy captain. You get the pass catchers in here. This one seems like it has a much better chance of cashing than those other ones. But anyhow, so that's just something fun that we have that we're testing out. And again, you get these for free just with Try It. You don't even have to be an AceMind member. There's no login. You can just go right to getlineups.com, get some lineups for play tonight. All right. So we're still simming here. We got field 4. So what this is doing, if you aren't that familiar with how our software works, so we fed in all of our projection data. Yeah, high risk seems to like captain of the losing team. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it worked yesterday, Nick, right? That wasn't, I mean, that lineup probably wasn't high risk because of how many people duped it, but, you know, that does work. When you get one player that gets all the usage, like McCaffrey or Brees Hall, that kind of strategy can really work, like a 2-4 or something, or even a 1-5 like that. So anyway, what we've done with these sims, we've taken our projection, standard deviation, our expected ownerships, field points, dumped them into the sim. So it's just running this, right? So it's given our ownership and our field points here, we're randomly generating. There's some actual logic in Showdown now. So what we're doing is based on the captain selected, we adjust the ownerships of every other player using a model. And so it's not really randomly generating 24,674 lineups. What it's doing is it's saying, for all these captain ownerships, let's randomly choose one of these players using this ownership, okay? And then based on this captain, so let's say I chose Brock Purdy captain. Well, with the quarterback captain, I'm much more likely to play his receivers or pass catchers and not the opposing's defense, right? And so we effectively kind of shift around the flex ownership of each player based on the captain. And so the actual ownership that the model is deciding from to build these lineups is not really these. It's if you chose Brees Hall captain, it would probably be less for Aaron Rodgers, for example, right? His ownership we give him is 35%. If Brees Hall's captain, it's actually 40%. If Brees Hall's captain, it might actually be like 30% or something. I'm not sure what the actual. I'd have to go back into the constants to tell you that, but. So something new that we're doing for Showdown to try to help build more realistic lineups, kind of the TLDR there. But anyway, so we've generated 24,000. Run our sims here. We generate our fantasy point outcomes. Simulate these tournaments out, and then this lineup holdover percent here, the 7%. What we're doing is we're taking the top 7% of lineups graded by our lineup score that we put in, which was it was 80, it was 5, 5, and 10, and so now we're actually we're keeping the top X% of lineups. And the reason this is really important for Showdown is super sensitive to the field that the lineup is in, right? And so a lineup can have 0 duplicates in one sim and have like a 10,000% ROI, and then it could just be randomness of like at that time or that field it had that much of an ROI. But over time, if you generate multiple fields and you compare them against each other, that lineup might have 0 duplicates in one field and 10 duplicates in another field, right? And so the first time it had like a 10,000% ROI. Now the next time it has a 1,000% ROI. Now obviously those are large numbers, but it's really important in Showdown to simulate multiple fields here. Whether or not you're using our app or not, it doesn't matter. Like, you should take a lineup and compare it over multiple random fields in order to get a true idea of what the ROI is. So that's what we did. So we did seven different fields for these lineups, right? And here's our entry builder. The player stats thing, we need to update it for we have like new ROI, top 1% metrics. So we need to update that. But the build lineups is really where we want to be. And we're going to look at the top 150 here and just kind of take a look. So number 1, again, this crazy Tyler Conklin captain lineup. Now what's interesting, so these ceilings are the actual max score for each lineup, right? So like somehow we got to a outcome where this Tyler Conklin lineup actually got simulated out to a 244.07 standard deviation, right? Or it's not standard deviation, but a 244.07 fantasy point outcome, which is crazy. But I mean, that's the way it goes sometimes. I mean, maybe Conklin, I believe last year had at least 100-yard receiving game, so maybe it's like one of those. Maybe it's just one of those where Conklin and Brees Hall are catching passes from Rodgers, and the Niners have maybe a defensive TD or two. I mean, that's how that lineup could potentially get there. But that one definitely seems high risk. So the next best one here is Garrett Wilson with Purdy, Rodgers, and Ayuk. Now this looks like a pretty good lineup. in our sims, what are we had? So here's our lineup score from our weights. Here's our sim dupe. So this one on average in our sims had 10 duplicates per. You know, I usually like to keep this under 10, but if it grades out well, it grades out well, right? Like if this is just a lineup that is just so obviously the play based on my projections, you know, you can't, even though I'm kind of killing my upside a little bit, can you really argue with it if over time this is kind of like the plus EV play? Same with this one down here with 27 duplicates. And this is like a jet stack with Purdy. I can't, this lineup probably most likely would not. I think this number likely is overestimating the probabilities here, just because you're getting a 5-1 with Purdy alone. But these lineups here, all these like under 10, these all look like lineups I'll play. Here's McCaffrey, and an Onslaught with Conklin. This is like a lineup that I'm going to load in today. I love this one with Cowing. I mean, this would be really different where you play Purdy and you don't play either of the two premium or three premium pass catchers. This looks like a really interesting lineup to me. And then what else? Here's an Ayuk captain. Yeah, nothing wrong with chopping a million 10 ways. Yeah, no doubt about that. I could speaking from experience, Jen. So these all look pretty good, and it's interesting how much what I would say is these Jets lineups, right? Here we have another one. All these Jets lineups. Oh my, this one is just for sickos. Greg Zuerlein captain. You get the kicker captain defense. and then the 3 Niners too. That's just gross. If that one wins tonight, I have a strict anti-kicker captain rule. And then if that one wins tonight, I mean, congrats to the winners. Don't forget to tip your dealers, because Greg Zuerlein captain winning outright would be. I mean, that's another one that'd probably be a million maker one. But yeah, I think what these sims are kind of showing is just how favored right now Onslaught style lineups are. Right, here's a 5-1. Here's a 4-2 Jets. Here's a bunch of 4-2 5-1 Jets. Right, here's a 5-1 Niners. Here's a one. Is this Brees Hall captain? I'm guessing. Yeah. Oh, this is another Conklin. Weird Conklin lineup. Yeah, kicker captains for Thursday night rock fights only. No doubt about that. So yeah, I think just looking at these results, for me, the biggest thing I'm taking away here is how much the Sims like kind of onslaughting, and just accepting that in this game especially, there's so much variance, which is kind of the point I was making earlier. But like, we really have no idea what we're going to get from either one of these teams today. And so just kind of play into that a little bit when you're playing tonight. And I will as well. Even though I am a Niners fan, I'll probably have more Niners 5-1s. I will definitely have a couple Jets 5-1s. Because it just seems like such an obvious way, with the market still pricing the Jets at +4. Their team total is under 20 still at the +4 number and 43.5. There's just, the Niners could come out here and just lay an egg. And it's not like the preseason hype around the Niners. Obviously, they're just ridiculously talented everywhere. But it's not like, there was a great preseason for them, right? And there's a lot of Trent Williams held out. He might be on the snap count tonight. There's just a lot of uncertainty with the Niners. So it would not stun me here to see them come out, lay an egg, and then, the Bay Area media just goes crazy at John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan for not having them ready for the season or whatever. That's definitely a narrative I would like to play into. And I guess the other thing I'm seeing here is, I mean, the balanced lineups seem fine to me. There's nothing wrong with just playing a balanced lineup. 3-3. It is hard for some of these games for 5-1s and 4-2s to hit. So those seem like options, but I definitely am leaning towards playing a lot more of like the onslaught style lineups, or even some of these kind of 2-4s, right? What's the best line for SE? Man. That's tough. It depends on the size of the contest, right? How many entries? Because, I mean, number of entries changes everything here, right? The fewer entries, the more likely I would be to lean into a 3-3 Niners or a 4-2 5-1 Niners. The more entries there are, the more willing I would be to lean into like a Jets 4-2, Jets 5-1. So it just depends. 30,000 for a single entry. Then definitely I would take some kind of Jets onslaught. Hope for the best. Right. Here's this Garrett Wilson. Maybe not with Brock Purdy solo. One of these like 4-2s here, maybe 5-1, something like that. But I mean, the more entries you're competing against, the more you need to lean into the variance. But this is a good slate. This is a good slate for sure to leaning into that variance. All right, so quick show today. I'm gonna jump off because I got to do baseball projections, get those up. But any last questions before? Any last questions before I jump off? Don't forget, get lineups. GetLineups.com. Great place to just get a lineup for tonight. If you want a single entry lineup on Get Lineups, you just go GetLineups.com. This is exactly what I would do. I'd go right to DraftKings Showdown. And then we're going to look for a large. But for single entry, we're going to do Ayuk boost again. We're going to do Hall boost. And we're going to do Debo limit. Right? And then for single entry, I'm using one of these risks. Let's go with lower risk just for fun. Let's see what the lineup gods have for me today. Oh, my promo code may not work anymore. I think you get one redemption with try it. We'll see. Here's that Conklin lineup again. Might have to check the code on that one. Why is that one popping up with the low risk? This is probably just the contest size. Yeah, here's a good lineup in my opinion. Here's a good lineup for single entry if you're going Niners side. Also, this one's not bad with the Jets defense, Kittle, McCaffrey. This is the Brock Purdy throws 2 picks. Brock Purdy throws 2 picks lineups, right? And Kittle has 2 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, here's a good Jets one if you want to play a Jets one. The Garrett Wilson, again, Jets defense. But anyway, I would use Get Lineups for something like that. Or if you're going to use our sim tool, just sim the contest you're trying to do and then just filter down. Do one lineup up here, and there you go. Conklin, and then you could say, I don't want any Conklin. See how well these filters work for one lineup. There you go. So here's our next best. Garrett Wilson, Brock Purdy, Aaron Rodgers, Ayuk, Jake Moody, and Tyler Conklin. It's a good lineup. I like that one. But anyway, all right. I am going to jump off. Thanks for tuning in. acemind.io for all your DFS needs. We got projections now in our app, my model. So come join, check it out. We got a 3-day free trial and 25% off your first month with AceMind NFL 24 promo code. So you can try that out as well. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys.